thank you for joining me here on this vegan plant-based summit. How are you today?
Isabella, thank you so much for having me. I'm wonderful. I'm excited, and I'm really grateful to be here with you.
Thank you. You're obviously vegan. Tell me where it all began.
So I began my vegan journey starting out in New Zealand, actually. I went there to work at a winery, and I met, while I was at a hostel, I met some Germans, and they ended up challenging me. First time in my life, because I had lived in America. I'm from America, and I've lived there most of my life. And there it was, you eat all kinds of animal products. That's just it. On a barbecue, you get burgers, cheese, and none of that is a second thought. And when I went to New Zealand, I met these Germans. They challenged me. They weren't even vegan themselves, but they just said, "How come you're eating so much meat?" And this simple question was like, I had never once questioned that in my life. I was 20 at the time. Never once did I question, should I not eat? Should I not be eating this? Should I not be eating so much? And then when I started at university, I met a vegetarian, and he started to introduce me into these ideas of, well, animals feel like we do, and they actually don't. They actually suffer. And I was quite surprised by it. And at the time, I'd started to eat a lot more healthily and eating all these vegan foods that I didn't realize were vegan. They were just naturally uplifting my body, my mind, my soul. All these fruits, these vegetables, and so I opened up to it. And finally, I ended up seeing this blog about what happens to animals. Slaughterhouses, especially these chickens, their beaks taken off, 3-day-old, 2-day-old calves, being taken away from their mothers, being killed, because of their sex, or because they're just animals caught in the the wrong lifestyle, whatever it is. And I just thought, my heart sank. And I was faced with this truth that this isn't right. I can't do this. And it was about 2 weeks later, I decided I'm no longer eating meat. Can't do it. And then a week later, I had pizza in front of me, cheese pizza with cow's milk. I looked at that and I thought, well, what's the difference? So about 3 weeks after that, I decided to go vegan, and it's been such a beautiful, beautiful journey, process in my life, and so much compassion in my heart for others, for animals, has opened up.
So how long ago was that? How long have you been vegan?
I've been vegan for 6 years now.
6 years. And during those 6 years, have you seen any of the documentaries, the harrowing documentaries that people, they say they just can't watch?
Yeah. So I've seen Earthlings, which was the most challenging one. I ended up watching that alone, and I got halfway through, and I just couldn't bear it. Like there was so much happening inside me, that I was just this sorrow, this anger. And the other one, I actually can't remember right now the name of it, but it was Earthling Ed's documentary that he had made. And I ended up watching that 3 times because I went to a few different events. One of them was put on at my university that I had co-held. And yeah, that was wow.
So tell me about your university years, because for us older generations, we just assume that all Gen Z people are now environmentally friendly and caring about the environment, caring about the animals. And that's not true, is it?
Not quite, unfortunately. I think there's a far greater awareness. But as we know, there's awareness and there's action. And those can sometimes have a very gigantic chasm in between. So in speaking about my experience at university, people were much more aware, which is what really helped me to become more aware of my actions. And I started a society at university, as I saw this need for myself to take action, and I saw a need for other people at university, at Bournemouth University in the south of England, to become far more aware of their impact, and how they could make changes, small changes or big changes, to affect the environment, affect animal well-being, and as well their health, to give back to themselves as well. So I started what's called the Reducitarian Society. And this was inspired by a video that I had watched by a man named Brian Cateman, who had this idea that if we are to reduce the amount of animal product consumption by 10%, it will make a massive difference. And now, being vegan at the time, there was a sense of logic in that was, oh, wow, that's cool. And then there was so much more of me that was triggered by that thing, saying, no, we have to do more. 10% is not enough. There's vegan, and then there's how much more can we do after that? And I realized that as much as I want to say go vegan now, there are all these people who they're on a journey just like I was. And it is a step-by-step for some people. Some people can do it overnight, some people not. So I took this idea of reducitarianism and ran with it. And I said, what we're going to do at university is we're going to encourage and empower people to reduce the amount of animal product consumption they have until they feel comfortable going vegan. And what I found with this is there were a huge influx of people who actually loved this, because we weren't so forthright and strict and rigid in our belief that if you aren't vegan, you're not doing enough, which I think has its place. At the university, I didn't find that was a beneficial way, at least where I was, to be able to do it. So we ended up getting the student union involved in a number of different things we did. We had the Bournemouth Echo, so the local newspaper, becoming involved and sharing what we were doing. We had a number of other outlets in which we were able to speak to, because of this idea that we're not telling you need to do this one thing or you're wrong. We are sharing with you a way in which you can take action today to support how you can empower yourself and help the animals, help the environment, and help your health at the same time.
So it's our natural human nature to want to resist change, isn't it? So when people are thinking about going plant-based or going vegan, there's this natural resistance in there. What would you say to help them cross that transition?
Yeah, I love this because I get excited when I'm talking about change, because it's an exciting, for me, it's exciting. So the first thing that I've learned as being an empowerment coach and going through my own healing process and encouraging and empowering other people to do the same is the first thing I like to make them aware of and remind myself is that if we've held on to a belief or a habit, whether that's positive or negative, it takes effort to change it. So a lot of the times, if one of us are going on a diet or we've just hit January 1st and we're like, okay, let's do this. Let's make this change in our life. It takes effort to change a habit, no matter whether it's good or bad. So if we're looking to change, say, okay, I want to go on a diet, I want to change my behavior towards this, we have to have the energy, have the motivation, have the inspiration to be able to do that. And it requires a diligence, a consistency in overcoming that, almost like this energetic boundary, I have to continue to make this effort until it becomes a lifestyle, until it becomes a habit. And, that can take time for different people.
Change, as you've just mentioned, it's not something that you can just do. It's something that's progressive. I've seen all of those documentaries and they are harrowing. And the recent documentary, Seaspiracy, I watched the other day, and it was very, very harrowing. And people don't look at fish and marine life as having feelings and emotions. Now, I found myself wrestling with my inner child, where my father used to take me fishing, and that's a program that I ran for many, many years. This is how I've grown up. This is how things have always been. This is how things should be. And you start to feel as though you've been lied to. So what would you say to people that are actually struggling with that concept and are wrestling with their inner child?
Mm. Yeah, so I love that you bring up inner child. That's something that I've been using as a healing modality for most of my time as a coach and in my own life. First, I'd like to say you're not alone. There are 7 billion, 8 billion people in this world, and that struggle you're going through is probably felt by many of those people. We are, at least in my experience and all the other people that I've spoken to, we're brought up in a conditioned society, conditioned to believe by our parents or our teachers or our friends or whoever it is, who are also conditioned to believe that in order to, for example, gain love, you need to do something. Mm-hmm. And so what you talk about, that example with with your father and in fishing, it's like, if I behave myself and if I allow myself to do what my father approves of, like us going fishing, then he'll love me. Then he'll appreciate me for who I am. And then it becomes, okay, what more can I do to do as others want me to do? And the conditioning is eat animal products. The conditioning is do as you're told, is to not look beyond what you've been taught, what you've been brought up. And so in creating change in this way through inner child healing, what I found is really, really important is to first slow down. So many of us are moving so incredibly fast or doing everything we can to try and ignore what is in our life, what is in our reality. Like, I spent so much time when I first found out about, this idea of what happens to animals in the environment, ignoring it, like trying to avoid it because it meant I needed to change. It meant I needed to face my values. So slowing down is incredibly important. And this is, for me, how we connect to our inner child, because things will come up. These ideas of, oh boy, if I am to do something differently, if I'm to go against my mother and my father's word or what they expect of me, will they still love me? And behind all of what's being experienced, that is probably the biggest motivator. Will someone still love me if I do this?
We can extend that to wider society, can't we? Because we're social creatures and we rely on something called social proofing. So if everybody in our vicinity is doing a certain thing, then we're more likely to do it. How have you changed since you became vegan? Have you changed your habits, your lifestyle, your friend base? How have you changed?
Yeah, it's nice to reflect on that. So thank you for the question. I started to notice I was acting passively a lot in my life before going vegan. And not necessarily that this is a change that will happen everyone, I don't say that, but it's a change I noticed because it lit a fire right under my butt. It won't push, it put this flame right in there. It says, there's something you need to do. So I became a lot more active in my life in terms of, this is what I want to see in the world. As Gandhi says, be the change you want to see. And I saw that and I thought, okay, time to become active. And I started to bring in more people into my life that were also looking to actively change the world. And when any sort of massive identity shift comes in, people go. And so I started to notice a drifting away from my old interests, which were friends there's nothing wrong with it. They were more on a superficial level in terms of too. They were looking to hang out or play sports or these kinds of more passive things. Although they have a place, I love them. I became so much more inclined to what more can I do? And these people came in my life, and along with my family, I ended up distancing myself from my family a little bit, it was uncomfortable. because I loved them. They're in my life, yet I saw all of who I was and who I used to be in the family changing. And that's a beautiful reminder for me. And I hope everyone listening is, sometimes we change our identity and we think it's going to all be for the better. We end up finding ourselves distancing ourselves so we can get perspective on what really matters, so that we can come back in and realize, wow, this is what's really important, which is what has happened in my life. It's been a journey though.
How do you help those who aren't vegan around you to think on the lines of, okay, this is good for the planet, this is good for human health, this is good for the animals? How do you help them to see that there is another option?
First and foremost, what I do is I lead by example. So when I talk about going vegan, I like to exemplify that. I like to exemplify change. I am open to changing. I'm open to learning more. I'm open to also allowing myself to be wrong. Because one of the beautiful things is I like to have conversations with people. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and these are the most beautiful things. We have simple conversations with a friend, and they were saying, well, I can't go vegan. I think that's too much. And what I heard behind that was there's a fear of the change. And so in embodying that, I'm okay with change. I'm accepting a change. I welcome that. I'm able to speak to them and allow them to see that actually that change is okay. That change is a little scary at first, but they can do that. And the way I like to use as a metaphor is, if you start a job, no one expects you to do everything right to begin with. It takes some time. So that's one of the ways in which to do it, is these conversations, these daily conversations, and these daily ways of showing that I'm a kind and compassionate person to the best of my ability. And this is how I'm living my life, and veganism is a part of that. The other way I like to do that is sharing with people love. It's kind of a roundabout way, but I share with people how they can love themselves, how they can deeply and powerfully love themselves. And through that, which is really the reasoning behind why I became a coach, is through deeply loving themselves, they can then make a conscious decision that, wait a second, what's going on my plate? Is that honoring the love I have for myself? Is that making a choice of love for this animal, for this planet that I'm living on? And then we get really deep into spiritual concepts, and if we say we're all one, and you guys can take that however you want, but if we say we're all one, as I suffer, you suffer, as you suffer, I suffer, as our world, which is really this beautiful ecosystem where everything is contained, as our world, as animals suffer, we suffer as well. So I like to bring people back to that place of loving themselves, so they can then make a conscious decision to go towards vegan, which I have discussions and conversations with them about too.
One of the things that is good about change is it enables us to grow as individuals and as part of society. What would you say to somebody that you can tell from the look on their face, you can tell from their expressions and their words that they don't love themselves, they don't feel they're enough, they feel as though other people don't love them? How can you actually bring them up to a point where they love themselves and they love who they are, they take care of themselves, and in return they take care of the environment and others?
Gosh, that hits me into the core. That is just a really powerful and beautiful question. So I believe there are, we have 4 bodies. So we have a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical body. And physical ill health comes from an emotional ill health, from mental ill health, and spiritual ill health. And it starts here. And the moment we say, I am not enough, is the moment we begin to disconnect with the essence of who we are. And, this can look like little things such as not being able to receive a compliment. You know, someone says, "Oh, you look beautiful today." And, you know, I'll say something, or you'll say something like, "Oh yeah, well, I just had to put this, just put this on. I'm not, you know, I don't normally look like this," or, "Oh, this old thing," or, you know. And what we do in order to come back to being, I am enough, I love myself for who I am, is to give everything that we want for someone else to ourselves. So we'll so easily look at someone and say, "Oh, I'm so happy that you've got this job," or, "I'm so happy that you're happy. You deserve so much love." But then the question comes back to, do I deserve that? Do I deserve that love? Am I enough? And the way we can begin to bring that into our life is, I do a simple exercise. Do it every day as I'm brushing my teeth. And I look in the mirror and I tell myself, I love myself. I love myself. And I say a few other things. I trust myself. I trust myself. I am successful. And success, for me, I've defined success. It doesn't mean money, fame, all that stuff. I trust myself. I love myself. And I say that over and over. And this is a really simple way. There's so much more. There can be so much more, but really simple ways. I love myself, and noticing what comes up inside you to try and fight that belief. Because so much we can have this resistance. Look in the eyes. I had someone who I'd spoken to, you know, and they laughed. They laughed when they tried to say, I love myself out loud. They laughed because for them, it was a joke. Watch the resistance that comes when you say, I love myself. And as you begin to love yourself, there's this natural connection that you have towards someone else. So like, Isabella, if I'm here present with you and I'm fully and completely in touch with how much I love myself, I will only be noticing, you know, the beautiful, loving aspects of who you are. Like, you're being able to hold this space. You're being able to create this documentary. I'm so grateful. You know, I love what you are being able to share in this world, the way that you're present, you know, the smile that you have in your face when that shows up. And I see that as, you know, as this beautiful aspect of who you are. That's only coming through as love. And then that resonates with, I see another animal, and I see that animal as a being of love too. Because if I'm to assume that animal is similar to me, that it too wants to be loved and be able to love. And so how could I ever want to do anything to have that animal be harmed? Same thing with this planet. If this planet is my home, I get to walk on it and be present in it, and it supports me in being able to love myself, why would I want to do anything to harm it? And these all come from this natural urge to, I love myself. When we also come back to inner child healing, for me, this inner child that was in some way told it wasn't enough, you know, at birth, 1 year old, 2 years old, whenever it was, whenever you were told I'm not enough, you begin to come face to face with all these stories that other people told you. You're not enough because you aren't achieving all that you should be. You aren't enough because the way you look isn't like that model on the front page. You aren't enough because when you speak, you jumble up your words and no one really understands you. And let yourself come back to, okay, there's this part of me that is perfect, whole, and complete. I believe this is our essence. There's a part of me that's perfect, whole, and complete. That doesn't need any confirmation of being loved. It doesn't need any confirmation of being worthy of love. It is love there already. And I just want to say to whoever's listening to this, that is there. That is there for you. And that comes fully into your life when you say, I am worthy of love.
One affirmation I find is quite powerful, and if, like you say, you do it every morning, every evening, when you brush your teeth, when you eat your dinner, is I love myself, I'm enough, and I care what I put in my body. Do you have any other affirmations that people can actually use for themselves to try and transition them? If they want to be transitioned into being a vegan or plant-based because they know going cold turkey overnight is a problem for them, what sort of affirmations can they say to help them with the transition?
Yeah, beautiful. So I have a specific form of inner child healing or whatever you want to call energy work that I do. And we can actually do this. It takes about a minute right now. What we're going to do is take your left hand, and I find most of the time that it comes up in the heart or the stomach, and you can just begin the affirmation saying, I am safe. Taking the left hand and you put it over the part of the body that becomes most aware to you. So if I feel it in my heart, like right now, I'm noticing how there's, even behind all this, there's a desire for approval. I'm noticing this desire to be liked inside of me right now as I'm sharing my message of what's really important to me. So I'm noticing in my heart, I'm feeling that I'm safe. Safe. I am safe. And what happens is my shoulders begin to drop. My heart begins to open back up. I'm feeling relaxed and more at ease. And what this affirmation means, I am safe, is as a child, it's likely in some ways you didn't feel safe. You didn't feel safe to be yourself. You felt the world around you is dangerous because for whatever reason, you weren't protected, whether emotionally or physically. And what can happen is a lot of times people get anxious. You know, anxiety is just constantly thinking about the future and looking around and trying to protect yourself. And this I am safe allows us to be okay with the change. I am safe. This change is something that happens. Change is very natural. The weather changes every day. Here in England, my goodness, the weather changes 5 or 6 times in one day. I am safe. I am safe. And another one I find really powerful is, okay, it's okay to not be okay. And some people might find this really counterintuitive. No, I have to be okay. No, everything's okay. Everything's fine. But it's okay to not be okay. And I find this really resonates. I put out a post about this. Simple. It's okay to not be okay. And there's so much love for it because people want this permission. It's okay to not be okay. I'm transitioning on a vegan diet. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling really confused. I'm feeling frustrated. My partner or my family member just said something that really bothers me. I'm now annoyed at them. And now I'm feeling triggered. Oh, okay. It's okay to not be okay. I'm not at my best. And that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. So I am safe. And for anyone who can't see, I got my hand on my heart. I'd like to connect there. And it's okay to not be okay. Those two things for me liberate me from however I am feeling into being okay with everything that I'm feeling.
There's this underlying feeling of there's something in there that's not quite resolved. And the label that we tend to put on it is PTSD. So for non-vegans and vegans, there's that sort of, if I become vegan or if I don't become vegan then, and it triggers a whole cycle, a whole problem. And PTSD has its roots in emotions and experiences. How would you help somebody overcome their PTSD associated with either seeing the documentaries or with the thoughts, views and opinions that they've found and gained, or from having all these years of not understanding and not knowing? Because again, a lot of the issues that we face they come from the not knowing and thinking that everything that they've known, everything that they've been taught is just a lie.
My heart goes out to everyone who's experiencing PTSD. And I even listened to Melanie Joy speaking about, I think it was ST or secondary traumatic stress disorder. She was giving a lecture on this, about how many people can experience this secondary traumatic stress disorder from, watching these videos, the harrowing videos you were speaking about, or we were speaking about before. My heart really goes out to these people. Because I was once was them, and in many ways still am them, going through my own experience of trauma. So I first want to briefly mention about how there's trauma that we can experience when watching these videos and seeing the awful things that happens to these animals, which I think is separate to the trauma that is already within us when we're a child and when we're grown up. And so to speak briefly about this trauma, that when we're watching these videos that happens with animals, and the torture and the abuse and the violence, be kind to yourself. And that even may be triggering, because you're thinking, how can I be kind to myself when all these animals are being abused, or when all this, when this world around us is, can be so violent? How can I be kind to myself? I have to push myself into the ground. I have to work harder to be able to help others. So take some time to slow down and allow yourself to feel the feelings of anger, of even depression, of disapproval, of whatever comes up, because when we repress these emotions, I've seen that a lot in activism, as I used to be a part of it quite a bit. A lot of the people would repress all these things they were feeling, and they come out in large bursts, sometimes to other people. And this is although I understand it, this is them sharing their trauma and putting their trauma out onto other people. And then in talking about the trauma that we experience as a child, because I believe this original disconnect from I love myself, I am enough, is where most of our trauma comes from. And in being able to deal with what maybe is a triggering of that post-traumatic stress disorder can sometimes be a triggering of that. And I'll say I haven't researched enough, so I'm only speaking from my intuition, from what feels right. In that, the way I would help people or support people or guide them is to allow them to feel safe with feeling their feelings. For most of my life and most of my clients' lives, and most of the people I've met, their feelings haven't been allowed to be felt in their fullest. And let's take example, anger. Anger is like a no-no, like a no-no emotion. You can't do that. That's not allowed. And sometimes it's to go on the stereotype. Sometimes it's only the man in the household who's allowed to be angry. They'll say, "Oh, this isn't right. What are you doing?" And it's only that one designated person who gets to be angry. A kid shows their anger, and all of a sudden they're told off. And now let's go as far as saying anger is safe. Anger is okay to feel. I've got a pillow here. There it is. And let's say I want to take this pillow and I want to safely take out my anger on this pillow because I feel it. And so I might beat it. I'll give it, I'll punch it. I'll let out some yelling. I will share this, this emotion of anger with this pillow and release it and let it go, because these emotions are truly safe to be felt when they're allowed to be. Like, no one thinks well, maybe some people will be, but I don't ever think it is being violent that I'm beating on this pillow. I think that's me allowing myself to release naturally and lovingly an emotion that if I didn't, I would take it out on other people, or I'd hold it within myself and I'd repress it. And so when we're talking about trauma and PTSD, it's, for me, allowing you as a human who is allowed to feel their feelings, to feel them in a safe way. Sadness, tears are beautiful. Crying, I find, is just a release, whether it's tears of joy or tears of sadness. If we don't grieve, you can, knowing that there are daily humans dying of hunger, there are animals dying for unnecessary reasons. Allow yourself, if that is overwhelming your heart, allow yourself to slow down and grieve that in a safe way, which is why I love being able to be a coach, so I can support that process. But I encourage you, if you need a therapist, if you need a coach, if you need someone, go find someone. If you need a friend, go speak your mind to someone who can hold you in that safe space. And a safe space is a place that is open to all that comes, and one that is non-judgmental, open to all that comes and is non-judgmental. And to allow everything to flow out of you.
So you're a female empowerment coach, and empowering people to make change is what you do for a living. How would you, or what advice would you give people to allow them to empower themselves to make that change, just to not stall any longer, just to go ahead and to make the change that's needed?
So practically speaking, what I would say to someone is, you can even do this as a visualization. Close your eyes and imagine there's like, there's a staircase. There's a staircase in front of you. At the top, there is being vegan. You know, being able to feel comfortable in being vegan. Okay, I'm at the top. Now, what we know is in between, there are a number of steps. In between, there are all these steps that we have to go through. What's step one? And the staircase for you might have 10 steps. It may have 2 steps. For some people who go overnight, it may have 1 step. For other people, it may have 122.3956 steps. And it's being able to empower yourself to say, okay, here's my journey. This is going vegan realistically, and knowing myself and then loving myself and being gentle with myself. I really empower a gentleness, because we're not often so much harder on ourselves that we need to go to the extreme of being gentle, because our mind can be an absolute battlefield. So be gentle, and being kind, being gentle, and being loving. Where's step one? Step one may be watching someone's 30-day vegan journey. Step one may be, I'm going to eat an apple because I don't eat a whole lot of fruit. And some people may say, oh no, that's not enough. I have to do it all or nothing, or this isn't enough. I might as well give up. Okay, then find out what step 2 is for you. While you're doing step 1, think about step 2. And this is baby steps, you know, and I love this as well, this analogy. There's this, there are these 2 ladders, and one ladder had, I don't know what you call it, a rung or a step, and the steps really far out, you know, and the person has to like shimmy up the sides to try and get to the next one, while the other person had really small steps to go onto. And who, of course, is going to have the easier journey? Who's going to get to the top faster? You know, not the person doing all they can to try and jump to the biggest step. And so that's how I empower people. I start with where they are, not an expectation of where I think they should be starting.
Once they become vegan or plant-based vegan, which is the ideal, because then you've got health benefits in there as well. They're starting to rock, social influencers enticing them slightly. What advice would you give them to stay focused, stay on track?
I'm going to say something, and I want people who are listening to take it with however it feels right for them. Share a few other things. Listen to your heart. And the reason I say take it how you want is because for some people that's very clear. They understand what that means. But for other people, it hasn't been practiced. So when I say listen to your heart, it's like listening to what is right for you, which is evidently a much more challenging thing in our society when we come back to the conditioning of not listening to ourselves, which is listen to everything outside of us. If someone is saying to you, go faster, you know, you aren't vegan enough, or you aren't plant-based enough, or if you aren't doing this, you should just give up, and that doesn't feel right for you, then lovingly let that go. Now, in terms of other practical ways and other ways that you can begin to help yourself in staying course, surround yourself with people who empower you. Surround yourself with people who you can bounce ideas off of, you know, and you can say, look, there's this YouTube I listened to, or I heard this thing about soy on the news. They're getting inside my head. I'm not sure of myself. What do you think? And and then another thing is, I like decisiveness, but this is why I like to meditate. I love to meditate, actually, is give yourself a time to be with something. You don't need to say, oh, that's uncomfortable, I don't want to deal with that. I'm either going to avoid it or I'm going to do it. Sometimes we can really avoid things immediately. So if someone comes on and says something, on the news that is swaying you and causing you to feel like, maybe I need to be doing something differently, or I'm not doing enough, or just let your nervous system calm, let yourself be with that and just say, okay, I don't know what to do yet. I'm going to leave that be. Consciously leave it be. You can meditate on it. You can think about it. You can journal a little bit on it. Okay. And there's this beautiful thing is, I don't know yet. Allow yourself to be in the space of, as you were speaking about before, the unknown. I don't know if this is right for me or not. Oh, how fun, how easy, how playful is that? I don't know if this is right for me. What do I think?
You do a lot of meditating and you spend your life empowering others. How can other people actually get that mind, body, emotional, mental connection going together so they can receive the health and mental and emotional benefits that you've received?
So I'll come back to the saying, as I try to say as often as I can, I'm still a work in progress. There's still things that I'm moving through. And some of which are even coming up wonderfly in this interview. Some things are working through, some things have gone. And what we're really doing in this process is a return back to who we originally are. So for me, that's uplifting. Return back to who we were when we were born. We're this beautiful baby that loved to feel things, that loved to speak our mind. We cried when we wanted to. We said, I'm hungry, feed me, with our tears. We smashed down on the table, feed me, I'm hungry, I want something. And very simply, become unapologetically you. This, for me, take, for example, this outfit that I'm wearing right now. This used to not be something I looked like, because I felt I need to dress more professionally. I felt that, I need to wear a shirt, I need to wear something nice, but this is me. This is really me being me. This is me enjoying what I'm wearing, enjoying what I'm doing. So allowing yourself to be unapologetically you is feeling your feelings. Now, this is another reason why, why I do inner child healing, I do meditation, is because there are a whole bunch of these blind spots that we have. I really encourage as well following of your intuition. When something doesn't feel right, realize why. Take some time to listen to that. And there's such a need to make things more complicated right now. There's such a desire to give everyone here like a 5-step plan, and this is what you're going to do. Yet I come back to the simplicity of it all. Just listening to your intuition. Should I eat that food? Should I eat that cake? Will that cake nourish my soul? Will I love it? Will I enjoy it? Or am I eating it because it tastes good and I know I'm going to feel bad afterwards? If you're going to feel bad afterwards, leave it be. Encourage discipline. Encourage self-discipline in your body. If you're going to enjoy it and you're going to love it and you're like, oh man, you know what? I've been fasting, or I've been working out, I've been eating healthfully, and this cake is celebration. Oh, eat that cake. Just make love to that cake in your mouth. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm enjoying this. Yes, this is beautiful. When we're talking about emotions, allow your emotions to be felt. If you have an appreciation for someone and you see someone speaking in a way or being in a way that you like, let your heart open. Say, wow, I love that about you. That's really amazing. When we talk about mental, listening to your beliefs, if you have a belief that isn't in line with your thinking, like, I'm lazy, Begin to act upon, ooh, wait a second. Am I going to sleep in for another hour when I know I could get up and it's really right for me to get up and to go work out or something? Listen to that. Follow what feels right for you. Gosh, yeah, I just come back to, you're such a beautiful, empowered, intelligent being that has everything you need already within you. Listen to what feels right, and your feelings will be your guide and your compass. If you're feeling good at the end of the day, you've probably done a whole lot more things that are right for you, that are loving, that are healthy. If you're not feeling so great and you're feeling a little down, and maybe you're going through something, maybe you have to allow it to be. Also listen, could I have done something differently? Yeah, I'd like to touch briefly on families, if that's all right. One of the things I hear a lot about, and friends as well, family is the more challenging one, because usually we don't choose our family. No. And so there, you can either say we're blessed with them or we're stuck with them, whichever one you're feeling at the time. And a lot of times I hear people who I speak to about, going vegan, so I couldn't do that, or my family doesn't support that, and people are wanting to try and help them go vegan, help their families go vegan, is really encourage when they're doing something right, even if they're listening to you. Sometimes that's a lot. That's a lot for our family members to do for us, is actually to listen to us talk about veganism. And that is encourage and praise what they're doing well. So often we can be in a negative state of mind where, oh, you're not doing enough. I just told you about what happens to cows in slaughterhouses, and here you are eating a burger. Or we can so often get into the negativity of it, and take the time to praise them, appreciate them for what they're doing, where they're at, and know where your boundaries are. Sometimes it's for you, it's really not okay to be at a table where, you're seeing some of these, some animal products being eaten. Know your boundaries. It may be challenging, but know that, is that right for me? Is that okay for me? And then if you can, do your best to vocalize them. Vocalize them to family. Allow your family to be a community that knows what you're feeling and thinking. And sometimes I appreciate that may not be possible for you because the family environment is so closed off or so violent or unhealthy. And then that's maybe when you can begin to practice a lot of these things with your friends or with other people. So I see myself in two different places, which is one, being very optimistic, and thinking, yes, it will happen. And then on the other side as well, and learning about mass change and what they spoke about in an Extinction Rebellion. And it only takes about 4% of to create a tipping point. And I was actually watching on the news yesterday, someone climate change, and they brought up very casually, we need to reduce the amount of meat that we eat. And this is on like BBC News. This is on mainstream media. They're saying that casually. And the presenters didn't flicker an eye. Like there was no, challenge my beliefs. And this is happening on mainstream news. And so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a tipping point. And I'm very optimistic about how the awareness is increasing so much that the people who I wouldn't normally have been able to have had a conversation with 2-3 years ago, it's like, oh, so you're vegan. I know you can't eat this and can't eat this, can't eat this, can't eat this. And I'm like, yes, how do you know that? What's going through your mind? And the fact that it's reaching the outer rungs of society, which are normally too closed off to ideas that are, what's the word? The only word that comes up with is sort of like conspiracy theory-esque. This is no longer becoming some outlandish idea that veganism or being plant-based vegan is something that is mad. It is so acceptable. It is so understood, that I'm very optimistic that there's going to be a tipping point within the next 20 years, along with the understanding of climate change and these things.
So Hakay, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you today, and hopefully the viewers at home will be able to take some quality information from this talk. And if they can't take anything other than love yourself and listen to your heart and do what's right for you, I think this talk's gone a long way to empower change in individuals, whether it's to become plant-based or to become vegan. But thank you very much.
Isabella, thank you so much as well for all that you're doing. Thank you for inviting me on here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to share this message. And filled with so much gratitude. I really do hope this reaches exactly the right people, the people it needs to.
Me too. Thank you very much.